gentleman from Alabama is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Christensen, is that your first grandchild?
Yes, sir.
So you've got a lot of fun ahead of you.
Thank you.
Create a lot of problems for her parents. So, but I really appreciated you bringing that in, making it as personal as it was, because this is personal. It's personal for everybody who's experienced it, and no one should have to experience that. My question to you is what can Congress do to help you address the accountability issues at the U.S. Forest Service?
Well, I've already mentioned the Privacy Act, but let me go on, and you've already helped us with the records on personnel file. I think we can untangle just a little bit more so it's not so difficult. But, you know, a multi-agency panel, I take all the responsibility for the Forest Service, but we are not the only agency or even private sector company that are really dealing with this. And I think there's some shared learning, some shared leverage, and Congress could potentially help us convene a high-level panel. I don't know if that's through GAO, but we are committed to continuous improvement, and I think other organizations are. I've been contacted many times because of the things that we are doing. They're not perfect, but we are doing things. So I think a shared opportunity with Congress to support where we need to go and what we want to do would be very helpful.
In that regard, are you interacting with other agencies to share this information and best practices? I guess that's the best way to put it, in a best practices sense.
Yes, we are on several fronts within the other agencies and wildland fire response and just other federal agencies, and several of my former colleagues in state agencies are reaching out to us to really to learn what we're doing and how we see a path ahead.
We had a hearing on this previously in which the testimony of a couple of witnesses to me, and I'm not a prosecutor, but just it seemed to me that it was not sexual harassment, it was assault, and it should have resulted in a criminal charge. Have you seen any, I'm not asking you specifically, I'm asking you in general, if something rose to that level, would there be criminal charges?
Yes, actually, we have received allegations throughout our history of criminal activity, and when we find that, when we do the fact-finding and find that there has been assault or rape or other criminal misconduct, we take that to a prosecutor and work with them to bring that through the justice system.
And in that hearing, I think one of the witnesses testified that someone was in the field and was grabbed around the neck and thrown to the ground. I don't know what happened in that case, but there was another case where I felt like it was criminal, and the individual involved was allowed to retire and then brought back as a consultant. Are you aware of cases like that where someone has been brought back into the service not as an employee but as a consultant?
I'm not aware of specific situation that you're talking about, but in general, if we are working on a criminal issue and we take it to a prosecutor, regardless of whether the employee remains with the agency or retires, that criminal process moves forward.
Well, I want to go back to Chief Christensen. Do you have the tools that you need to hold those who retire or resign accountable?
Thank you, Congressman. There is some additional things that I think we can do to streamline the putting on their personnel record. It's a right that employee has to resign. We cannot prevent them, but we do finish the process, and we would like to have the outcomes of that process or investigation stick with that former employee, and it's a bit of a cumbersome process. So some help in untangling that would be appreciated.
I think it would be important that if they are able to retire or resign, that they not be able to get back on the payroll as a consultant. Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity to ask questions, and I yield back.
Gentleman from